This is The Drive with Mark Pinicelli.
It makes counting useless, doesn't it?
Yeah. 3, 2. Okay, go.
That is funny. Oh, welcome back. Page 2 of the headlines. It wasn't intended to be a 2-segment headlines, but I did that whole Avengers rant.
Which
so.
I think this show gets nerdy a lot, but I think we're on a streak now, like 5 or 6 shows in a row where there's been like an Avengers segment.
Well, I mean, it's topical.
Absolutely.
Again, the movie just is still going strong. I was telling you it made $8.3 million yesterday. Nationally. 8.3, which is not bad, right? 8.3.
And they got some of your money for the second time.
Yes.
Like, it's that good.
Yes, absolutely. So
we're going to keep talking about it.
I told you guys earlier, my cousin's seen it 7 times.
you're going to see it again, aren't you?
7 times?
7 times.
Wow.
You're going to want to see it again and again.
I don't think I can watch it 7 times. Yeah, I could. Yeah, I'm probably going to watch it 7 times.
We'll see.
I got to see it once first.
Watch, you're probably not going to see it until like the last week it's in the movie theaters.
Well, let's page 2 of the headlines. Thank you, Carolina, for staying.
You locked the door. By Greg Wyshynski?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, ESPN. Alex Ovechkin had played in 1,003 regular season games and 109 playoff games without advancing beyond the Eastern Conference semifinals. After Game 6 against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Monday night, that particular smear against the Washington Capitals star player, their coach, and the franchise itself was wiped away. Evgeny Kuznetsov goal in overtime.
Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Yeah, him. Goal in overtime eliminated the Capitals' postseason tormentors in a 2-1 win and propelled them to their first championship round series in 20 years.
Here's how it sounded on NBC Sports.
1 strike away from a 7th game, or 1 strike away for the Caps from a meeting with Tampa Bay in the conference final. It is Ovechkin moving back. He gets it on to Kuznetsov, moving on in. He scores! The Capitals have
Listen.
made it to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time in 19 years.
19 years of frustration of arguably having the best player in hockey and not being able to get to the Final Four, essentially, of the NHL. What I hope is that they're not satisfied with this because they acted. And listen, I get it. When you get over that hump, it's special. But I see this with teams like, let's go back to last year with Minnesota winning that. Remember that incredible game, the overtime game against the Saints, pulled off this magical play at the end. All that celebration, it was almost as if they had won the Super Bowl. You still had a conference championship game the following week. I wonder if Washington is satisfied with just finally getting over that hump.
They have to be. So, I mean, when you talk about the struggles, and even me, someone who is like professed not that interested in hockey, I can still appreciate the drought that the Capitals finally just overcome. The Caps were 1-9 against the Penguins in playoffs in franchise history and hadn't beaten them since 1994.
Yes.
Okay, 1-9 in series against the Penguins. The Caps had appeared in the second round 6 times in the last 10 years and had lost every single one of those series. And not even just the Capitals themselves, but the whole entire city of Washington, D.C. A Washington, D.C. team hadn't advanced to its sports Final Four since the Caps did it all the way back in 1998, 20 long years ago. So that's the part to me that's cool. It's like, as a Cubs fan, okay, I can appreciate the long suffering. That is what Washington, not just Capitals fans, but all Washington sports fans have felt for a long time. And now they're finally, they're into new territory, newfound territory.
Yeah. As you were talking about, the postseason frustration that, extended to NBA, MLB, NFL. 71 sports seasons, which is just insane. If you add them all up, 71 sports seasons in the city of Washington that could not get to a conference final since 1998. So they've overcome that. Alex Ovechkin, of course, 607 regular season goals. That was the second most goals amongst players who have never played in a conference finals or Stanley Cup final game. To me, he's one of those players. Winning the Stanley Cup has to be his ultimate goal. Because I was telling you, he stands to be one of these Dan Marino, Charles Barkley guys of one of the greatest players to ever play, but no rings. And, you know, again, he still has a ways to go. He still
kind of been a
still has
laughingstock, right?
eight more wins to hoist that cup.
And how old is Ovechkin? Do you know off the top of
He's
your
no
head?
spring chicken. I don't know
Right.
off the top of my head. And I wonder in hockey.
32.
If you're a Russian hockey player too, if it's like, and I'm sorry if I'm picking on anybody, it's like the
All the Russian hockey people.
is it the
in our
Cuban,
listening area.
yeah, like the Cuban baseball player who often get labeled as he says he's 32, but he's actually 38, kind of
Right.
that kind of thing. I don't know
That
if
scene
Russian,
from Benchwarmers,
Yes.
where the guy is like a
Yes.
40-year-old
I
on the
love
team in
that.
Benchwarmers. He has got
Yes.
crayon written on a piece of paper that says "I am 12."
and it's got the like 5 stuck in there, and he's like, looks legit to me. So I don't know if there's a thing if Russian hockey players lie about their age or whatnot, but
I don't even think it's necessarily that they lie. I think it's just like they have no idea. Alexander Ovechkin strikes me as the kind of guy who was like born in a bear cave in Russia somewhere, and like raised for the first 8 years of his life by bears, like those circus bears that Russia has that ride around on the unicycles. That's who raised Alexander Ovechkin. That's why he's good at
Sure.
hockey now. So no, he has no idea how old he is. The only way you can figure that out is like chop his leg off and count the rings on the inside.
yes, that's exactly, and they're not going to do that for a while,
Right.
And
At least
You know-
until he's 40 in 2 years.
yes, I think so. Legitimately, since we offer no real hockey analysis,
Yes, right.
we offer pretend hockey analysis. I do think he's probably got like 3, 4, 5 year window here, but it's to win a championship, it's a team window, and the team that he's currently with, their window, I don't know if it's 3 or 4 years. He may have a 3 or 4 year window. They've got some great players there, Oshie, Kuznetsov, as we mentioned. He's got some great players around him that they were kind of built to win right now. They haven't been able to get over the hump. But again, to say that they're going to be capable of winning the next 3 or 4 years, well, that's going to depend on the organization. But
do hockey players, like I know Yager, is Yager still playing? He was, if he's not still playing, he was playing till he was like 44 or 45.
Here recently, and I think they're expecting this to be his last year.
Is that, like, how common is that? Because I know, like in football,
Most guys play till about 40,
Okay.
maybe 41. But yeah, and I mean, 40 is kind of a common age for most sports. That's about as far as you're going to get.
just seems to me like hockey's such a physical sport that I don't see how you would be able to, like, to
Yeah.
me, when I see that Ovechkin's 32 years old, I would think as a hockey player, that is the conclusion of your career, just about as physical and
Yeah.
grueling as that sport seems to be.
Well, I think it's like anything. I think a lot of times it's basketball, hockey, baseball. Even though hockey's a little bit more physical, I think the veteran guys in that sport, kind of like the same phrasing we use for Al Horford, that sort of like old guy YMCA.
Yeah,
Like, I think
right.
there's guys in hockey
old man game.
who's like the old man who can do the little things that sort of keep him in the league, keep him, playing, because it takes young guys a while to figure those little nuances out. But yeah, 71 seasons. So now, I guess you point towards Cincinnati, who hasn't seen they got to the 95 National League Championship Series, the Cincinnati Reds. So
And the Bengals will never be good until they fire Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, I don't think so. So
Which they did, and then he was back in a month, so I don't understand.
Buffalo made it to the 2007 NHL Eastern Conference Finals. So I guess it's 2007. I think you probably got to go Cincinnati.
Yeah,
if you go for cities.
Cincinnati right now, I think, is the most futile sports city in America.
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact they only have the 2 teams.
Right.
They don't have an NBA team. They don't have a hockey team. And the Bengals and the Reds are, it's bad. It's pretty bad right now in Cincinnati. Pretty bad. Thank God we don't live in Cincinnati, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's look at things on the bright side today. Aren't you glad you don't live in Cincinnati?
I am glad.
Man, I am so
Super.
glad.
It's Ohio in general.
ESPN. A couple from central New York fabricated a 2017 story about their son having cancer, soliciting about $3,000 in funds for his recovery and a visit with Syracuse University football team, according to the Cayuga County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
Syracuse.com reported that Martin and Jolene LaFrance faked a story of their son, CJ LaFrance, having Hodgkin lymphoma and set up a GoFundMe page that received $3,334 in donations. The family was also invited to attend a Syracuse practice in August 2017.
Absolutely. Horrible. I know that they only, listen, from a scam, I was telling you, from a scam standpoint, scamming $3,000 off of people is bad. It's a bad thing. Don't be scamming people. But you look at $3,000, and we can talk about bigger scams where millions of dollars were scammed off of people. And they got, the sports tie-in is that the Syracuse team invited this kid to go up there because they were looking to help out a kid who, was. I'm sorry. I'm going to say this. There's a special place in hell for these two people, these parents. It doesn't matter that it's your kid. You're doing it to any kid. I was telling you, Sam, they probably told this kid he had cancer. Like, how horrific of an individual. Like, it's one thing for you to even lie to people outside of your family and say, my kid has cancer. Will you give me something? Like, that's low. I mean, gosh, you're such a low. Yes. But to tell your own kid, you know what? You have Hodgkin's lymphoma and you're going to die. Like, what? What? You're taking the Hell Express. Like, you don't even have to wait in line, man. Yeah. Like, they will gladly receive you and in hell, no waiting. Free luggage, all that stuff.
I feel so bad for the kid here, though, because I don't know if that's how it went down or not. Like, if the kid was, I don't mean in on it in the sense of like the kid was part of the scheming.
He couldn't be, because kids are not great actors.
Right. But I mean to the extent of like did they go so far as to tell the kid you have cancer and like scare him like that? So the reason I feel so bad for the kid is if you are going through that, do not make me meet the Syracuse football team. The Syracuse football team, I mean, these guys win like 3 or 4 games a year. You're going to tell me, like, your big Make-A-Wish thing that you're going to help me do is I get to shake Eric Dungy's hand? Like, no, thank you. What a scrub. Well, what a terrible, terrible, like, gift to this kid. Give him something good. Don't make him hang out with the Syracuse football team of all people.
I think if you live in Syracuse, maybe it's an honor from that standpoint, but I mean, maybe it's like low ball, hustle. It's like, you know what? Since we're scamming the world, let's don't ask for like the Yankees. Like, let's don't have ask the Yankees
Keep
if
it
they'll
low
visit.
key.
Syracuse football. Syracuse football. No, not even Syracuse basketball, because I would bet you basketball is bigger at Syracuse than football is.
Terrible people.
Thoughts, Carolina?
I mean, words.
I don't even know what. I was telling you, dude, I don't support any scamming whatsoever. Like, when you steal from people, that's bad. It's just bad. But this is to me, like, this should not be judged as just scamming. This is like you lied to people about your kid having a life-threatening disease. And I was telling you, there's no way that they said, listen, you don't really have it, but we need you to act like you're going to die. No kid can pull that off. You have to tell the kid, and I know I'm assuming, but I'm telling you, and that is awful. Special place in jail, special place in hell for people.
And it wasn't even like they got in and got out. Like, they got the money and then they went and did the Like, say it was just a one-day visit with the Syracuse football team. No, they continued it. The guy's uncle, like, kept following up with reporters and people that worked for Syracuse, like their newspapers and all this, saying, well, no, he hasn't gotten better. Oh, no, it's been upgraded to stage 3. Like, they continued the story and had a continued ongoing relationship with members of the football team. And so it's like they just built it and built it and built it until they finally got caught.
And see,
I'd be so mad if I was.
I know, like
players.
I said, you feel bad, for the people involved. I mean, it's one thing for you forked out $10 to their GoFundMe page, which is bad. Don't get
Right.
the wrong
and
idea.
they're refunding everything. GoFundMe says everybody will be refunded.
I mean, again, you're volunteering your time, and it's like I said, anytime you spend with a kid is not time wasted. Whether that kid is dying of a terminal illness or not, that's time well spent. But you are under the impression that this kid is facing the last few, perhaps, days on this earth, and so you're giving that time under those pretenses. It's just so awful. It's one of the worst stories.
So what do we
I've
do?
ever heard.
What is the punishment here for these parents? What do we do? Is it?
I know I'm gonna make people mad.
I mean, just capital punishment, like.
Public punishment. Like, I know people are all against this, and maybe this ruffles your feathers. I am all for. I mean, is it a killable offense?
Yeah, I mean,
do you think
sure.
murdering these parents would do anything?
Send a message. Well, don't use the word murder. It sounds worse when you say murder.
Well, you're gonna if you publicly if you execute them, they're going to die.
Yes, but that's not what murder is.
Well, I guess technically, tomato, right? But I'm saying, at least we could, have them, publicly stoned or something.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody, because
smoke a lot of marijuana in publicly stoned.
No.
Not that.
I meant like members of the Syracuse football team could get a rock,
yes,
and throw it at them.
And the kid. Not throw the rock at the kids. Like, let the kid throw rocks at his parents.
I was like,
that kid's got a bad reputation now. Like, the kid's name is out there. CJ LaFrance, we know that kid's name. He's always going to be known as the kid who was the fake cancer kid. That's a bad.
And it's bad
because thing to
especially
have you.
if you didn't have anything to do with it, and the people are going to treat you
right. Exactly.
It's just awful. So now it feels like the Syracuse football team should take the kid under their wing,
right,
and be like, listen, I'm sorry, your parents are complete jackholes.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can just look at them. I've got a picture here. You can just look at them and they look like jackholes, like you said.
It's just. Yeah. What is wrong with the world? For $3,000.
$3,000.
$3,000. I mean, a used Hyundai. A used Hyundai and a trip to a Syracuse meet and greet.
I'd rather have the used Hyundai.
I'll take the cash equivalency. Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you, guys.
What is the cash equivalency of hanging out with the Syracuse team?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
17 cents.
Can't put a price on
a
it.
rubber band.
Can't put a price on it. We'll take a break. We'll come back. And did you know the sun is dying? Not this kid, CJ. Not him. We covered. That wasn't a true story. The sun, or the big glowing thing that we don't see in Eastern North Carolina today. We'll come back and talk about it.